Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm trying something out new this time. Content that I've always wanted to do is Pokemon content, and I've done very minimalistic of that. I've done some gotcha pulls on a now uninstalled Masters game, and I don't know if I've really done much more outside of that. But I have something I'm excited to do, and it's a draft league, and it's something I've really wanted to do ever since Gen 6, watching all the PokeTubers like Shady Penguin, all of them go through it. It's really fun, and I'll explain the concept a little bit to those of y'all who this is your first draft league experience. But essentially, you have a group of coaches, so there's 16 of us, and you have a randomized order of who picks first, and you kind of work back and forth on drafting Pokemon. So if you start first and you get down to last will pick twice, and then it'll come back around to first again. So kind of evens out the pain of going last, right? But and so we're kind of following Smogon rules to an extent, and you'll see on the left side there I have the tiers. So there's a G-Max tier, which I'll explain in a second. There's an S tier, which is like the upper echelon of Overused by Smogon. A tier, which is like the rest of Overused. B tier, which is like an Underused, and then C tier is kind of like everything else. And so the rules are, when we did the draft, we were able to pick one from the G-Max tier, one from the S tier, 2 from A tier, 3 from B tier, and then 5 from C tier. Oh, and I didn't explain the G-Max thing. So essentially, the G-Max, you can see that top category up there. These are all the mons that are available. These aren't just the ones that were picked. These are all the ones that were available, and that goes for each of these first 4 tiers. So definitely not strong mons by any means. And in fact, I picked. A lot of people pick their G-Max Mon last. It just certainly wasn't a priority for most teams. But I'm going to break down the draft, how it went for me, maybe explain some of my picks. You see my team on the right. We're the Carolina Crobats, which, sad truth, Crobat's not in Sword and Shield right now, but our mascot nonetheless. But yeah, let me break it down a little bit. We have the drafting order. So I was picked. So CC's our Carolina Crobats, and I'm like fifth from last. So, and the whole S tier essentially had one for everybody. There were 16 mons they picked out to be the top ones in the S tier. So there were 5 remaining when it got down to me. And so for me, from what was left, I was just really excited to pick up Volcarona. And let me pull up all the ones in here. Was there anything because there was a couple I had written down. Volcarona was one of them, so I was happy she was still there by the time I got to her. Let's see. I mean, a lot of strong things like Rillaboom. I have not been that active in like the competitive metagame since Gen 6, so this is going to help probably reinvigorate me, get me excited to get back into it, and like get my mons finally off of like Pokebank and Pokemon Home and finally start building stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to get that energy back. But yeah, this is a great way to start it. It's something I've always wanted to do. Yeah, but going back to S tier, kind of evaluating it, like there were a lot of solid water types, but like that goes for like all tiers. So I was like, I don't need to get a water type, so like I immediately took like Kingdra and Azumarill, and Toxapex like out of the back of my mind. So I wasn't worried about getting any waters. I try to remember what was left by the time I got there, and I could bounce back and forth between these tabs to figure it out. But regardless, when it got down to me, Volcarona was definitely a solid choice, and one that I had kind of pre-planned to pick up. So that led me into my next pick, which I got to pick relatively early because, again, it's snake order. Since I was 5th to last, I was 5th to pick coming back down the line. So Scizor got picked up. That was one I was definitely thinking about picking out. So for me, I knew I wanted to Rotom. Like from the A tier, I knew I wanted to Rotom. And since I ended up with Volcarona in the S tier, instead of getting a fire type or doubling down on fire type with the heat, I decided to go grab Wash as a strong water. There's not enough good things you can say about Wash. You know, he's pretty established meta at this point. And pretty much for like most gens since he was released. So just great mon, good bulk, good attack. It pivots. It can defog actually, which I didn't even know it had gotten a tutor mood for that. I think that was Sun and Moon, which again that's the generation that kind of killed competitive Pokemon for me, or Pokemon in general. Like I just hated that gen, but I'm not gonna dive into that. But Rotom, excellent pickup, and I think it was a good support for Volcarona. And like I said, it has defog, it removes rocks. It's a good type switch in as well. It's got Levitate. Just not enough good things I can say. So, moseying down the list, let me see what else got picked up from here. That I was disappointed not to get, I should say. I think the only thing that got picked up that round that I might would have been excited to pick up was Slowbro, but again, I just covered water, so like, and my next pick, I contradict myself, but regardless, I don't think I got too upset with anything else that got picked up between my Rotom and my next pick. Now I will say, Galvantula getting picked up in round 3, which was an early pickup for Galvantula. So essentially, unlike the other leagues that I've seen where you pick by tier and like everybody goes to that tier, you were allowed to pick any tier you wanted to. You had limitations. You were allowed to get one S tier, etc., etc. So typically, it's advantageous to get the stronger tiers first to get your first pick of those. But some people picked out order, and this person did pick Galvantula. That was one I was thinking about picking up. Sticky Web Sport's always nice. Galvantula's fast. It's a Volt Switcher, and again, it was a lower tier, so it'd been a fine pickup. And actually, what tier? I'm saying it's lower tier, but it might be better in this gen than I have not been paying attention like I used to back in Gen 6. Galvantula. Okay, yeah, Galvantula was a C tier pick, so like, it was a really early C tier pick for that person, and maybe they just didn't know what they wanted at the time, so they didn't want to go ahead and use up one of their stronger picks. That's just kind of the trade-off you did, and I did that a few times myself, and I regretted it. Big one time, and I'll get to that. But essentially, by the time it got back around to me, I did have like my biggest snipe's not the word. People call it a snipe, but like it's a Pokemon I really wanted to have. It's something I use a lot in Gen 6 as like a defensive wall with Skarmory. You get right, like I said, defensive wall. It's got Roost. It's got spikes. It's got access to rocks. It's a phaser with Whirlwind. It's just all around great mon. It got picked up. So when that happened, I said, okay, I'm gonna skip my A tier, my second A tier for now. There's a lot of good A tiers left. I'm gonna pick up Tentacruel, another Pokemon I used a lot in the past, and you can build it out to be defensive. It's got a lot of natural special bulk, but it's got great defensive typing with Water Poison. Rapid Spinner, Toxic Spike Setter. It can absorb Toxic Spikes. It's got Knockoff, just great utility mon, and you can do a lot with it. So I knew how to pick it up. So I picked that up instead of going for my A tier next, my second A tier pick. Let me keep scrolling down here. And then I picked up another defensive mon because Skarmory was just, again, losing Skarmory just hurt me so much. Great defense. So I wanted some other things I can kind of switch into to be defensive. And Sableye, I guess, that natural defense just for having Will-O-Wisp. He's not going to be like he's not going to be a special wall by any means. But he's not weak to anything except Fairy. He's got Will-O-Wisp. He's also got Knockoff. You can run a Trick Set if you really wanted to. Which the same can be said for Rotom. I forgot to mention that earlier. You could do Taunt. So he's not a bad lead either. So even with that as Mega, he's a great mon. I use him a lot in Gen 6. And then that's kind of a running theme. Like I picked a lot of Pokemon based on utility, or Pokemon I enjoyed running in Gen 6 and pretty familiar with. Some of my favorites got picked up. The Skarmory was one, and I believe another one happened soon after. I'm trying to see. Gosh. Okay, so yeah, this is where I started to having some regrets. So it got down to my next pick, and outside, I knew I wanted. I'll be candid about it. I knew I wanted Haxorus. He hadn't been picked up yet. I didn't think he was going to be picked up. I didn't think he was a popular mon. I used him all the time in Gen 6. Like I would scarf him with like Outrage, Poison Jab, Earthquake, and Rock Slide, and it just was one of my favorite like sweepers. Just a great mon. Sadly, it got picked up, and it's my fault. I could have drafted Haxorus. I postponed it thinking he'd be safe, and I wasted my turn because like I know why, but it wasn't a good enough reason. Is because Galvantula got picked up. I was like, all right, Stick Webs are fun. It'd be nice to have in the back. I was like, and my Gmax was like a give me slot, and Orbeetle has Sticky Webs, and I was like, all right, I'll use my Gmax pick for Orbeetle, and before it even got 3 people later, Hax just got sniped up, and I thought for sure I was safe, right? Because we're at the end of the list. I get to come back around. Like there was not very many picks between it. I messed up. But Orbeetle's cool. I'm not mad about having Orbeetle, I'm just mad about not having Haxorus. That's something else I didn't explain at the beginning. So with the Gmax tier, your Gmax Mon has to hold a Pokeball. It can hold any other item. If it Gmaxes, you can choose not to Gmax it, and it can hold anything else at once. But you can't Dynamax any other Pokemon. You can't Dynamax your Gmax. It has to be... Actually, I forget the rule on that one. I can't remember if you can use the Gmax form of your Dynamax or not, but I'm pretty certain it's... excuse me. Pretty certain it's Gmax only. You can't use the Dynamax one, but I'll check the rules on that. Regardless, Orbeetle was my Gmax pick. Again, Sticky Webs. You can run like screens if you wanted to on it, but honestly, it's fast. It's got good bulk. It's got U-turn. So I didn't think it was a bad pick, even though it was another bug. The webs were just, I thought, were good utility and kind of a free spot for the Gmax, which overall was not very great Pokemon. I'll pull that tier up again right here. I mean, you see Appletun, Creamy, Butterfree, Centiskorch, and some of these have okay Gmaxes, but like in terms of overall team utility, it's like, you know, you could go without picking up this tier and be okay, as far as I know. So I lost Skarmory, and then to my own fault, I lost Haxorus. Like Skarmory, I couldn't help, but the Haxorus, that was on me, and so I had to make up for it later. And I don't know if that's my next pickup. No, my next pickup, I again stayed on the defensive, and I realized I'm picking a lot of defensive Mons. I think the loss of Skarmory just like hit me hard. But I went in for Umbreon next. To a lot of people's dismay, people were not happy that I picked that Mon up. But I mean, you get Heal, you get Wish support, and it's just, the Pokemon's thick. It's not going down easy. Good switch in. You can heal back up your Mons, like I said. Yeah, you can, since the bake's open, you have access to Toxic again if you want to do Toxic Stall with Wish Protect. It has Baton Pass. You can do a few things with it, but overall it's just a good defensive wall. And a pretty predictable moveset 9 times out of 10, but just a great Mon in general. And really just has to watch out for Fairy types for the most part, or I guess a Fighting type. Not too many bug moves you're going to have to worry about, but typically a defensive wall. At least the way I run it. I think you can run it special as well. Let me verify that. I actually don't remember. I know EVs have like a 130 stat, a 110 stat, and a 95 stat. I think it's actually bulky all around. Yeah, it's bulky all around. Actually, it's got more special than it has defense, so I don't know what I'm talking about. So you can run it as either wall, depending on the matchup. And that's the cool thing about League. I hadn't even talked about that for those of you who don't know what League or Draft League is. But essentially, you get 12 Mons. You get matchups throughout the week. You can see my matchups against some of the other coaches in my division. And going in, you kind of make assumptions on what they're going to bring based on what they're thinking you're going to bring, etc., etc. You play kind of a little bit of a level mind game there. But you bring 6 out of your 12. You load out the sets, the IVs, the EVs, however you want it. And we're going to do this over Showdown, so that's going to make it a lot easier to adjust that on a week-to-week basis. But yeah, no, again, I'm very excited to play. So yeah, Umbreon that was my next pick. And finally, we get back around to my final pick for my A tier. And at this point, actually, I lost another Mon I wanted right after I picked up Umbreon. Like, I'm kind of learning my lessons here as I go. Noivern was Noivern and Haxorus was like my favorite dragons, and Noivern got picked right after I picked Umbreon. I think it was a tier. I think Umbreon was B tier, or not Umbreon. Sorry. Noivern was B. I think Noivern was B tier. I think the only reason I hadn't picked up at that particular moment is I already had Volcarona, I had Rotom, I had Tentacruel, and the rest were like defensive walls for the most part, like Sableye and Umbreon. I'm just like, all right, I don't know why I didn't pick up a physical attacker right then, but I didn't need a special attacker immediately, so I let Noivern slip by, and it got picked. So a little disappointed at that. Gen 6, I typically ran it Choice Specs with Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, U-Turn, and... Oh shoot, what else did I run on that? Flamethrower, Draco Meteor... Oh, Boom Burst. Was it Boom Burst? Now I'm questioning that, because that's not really good coverage. You know, I'm going to take a peek. Hold on a second. I got my old sets down here. Where is Noivern? There's one of them, but I had like an OG team that I used a lot with Mega Pinsir. This was my Mega Pinsir team. Pinsir BGC, Mega Pinsir. What I used to run. I did run Boom Burst. Okay. Not good coverage, but solid base power. I think is it 140? Yeah. Okay. That's why I ran it. Choice Picks Boom Burst hits hard. Anyways, I deviated again. That's probably gonna happen a lot more. Let's see. So I lost Noivern. So, anyways, I did my next A tier pick. I wanted some power. I don't know what was left at the time, but again, I know I needed a physical hitter. I lost out on Haxorus because I just drugged my feet and picked up a G-Max that was not essential. And I've never used Draco Bolt before. Oh, and for context, Draco Vish was banned. And I think that's banned in regular Smoke on OU anyways. But Draco Bolt is interesting. He's a dragon. He's electric. He's kind of got a lot of the same things Draco Vish going for it. Instead of the Strong Jaw, though, it has Hustle, which boosts its power by 50% at the cost of 20% or 80%. It actually becomes 80% of what it was. But I realized that comboed really interesting with my G-Max mon. So if you don't know, the G-Max move for Orbeetle, it applies gravity, which increases accuracy. So my thinking is, and this is kind of like a niche thing, I don't have to do that. I don't even have to run Hustle if I don't want to. It depends on the matchup of the week. But if I wanted to lay out Sticky Webs with Orbeetle, and I get the gravity off and switch into Draco Bolt, maybe off a U-turn, Draco Bolt can just sweep and hit hard, and I don't have to worry about it missing. So it's a pretty cool setup. I'm excited to try it out. I'm going to do it at least once, particularly if I feel like someone's got like a weak spinner, or they don't have a spinner, or remove hazards at all. Like, I'll definitely lay down the Sticky Webs and see what I can get out of that. But it's cool synergy. It's a cool mon. I haven't used it before. Like I said, I've used Draco Vish a little bit in my playthrough of the game, but it's Bolt Beak. It's got some coverage like fire moves, obviously dragon moves. You can run a subset. I think that's a popular OU set. So it does a lot of cool things, and again, it's OU, so I mean it's a proven mon. So I'm excited to try it out. It's something new. So I mean that's the brighter side of the story. I'm not just picking a bunch of mons I used before. I got something brand new to try out. So that was my round 7 pick. I finished out the A tier. I have my S tier, and I have 2 B tiers at this particular moment in time, and 1 C tier. And I had taken some notes beforehand, but like I didn't anticipate the level of like things getting picked up, and my list kind of ran dry. And of course, at the same time, I'm trying to cover things like rocks. I want phasers. I want to make sure I have physical and special sweepers. I want revenge killers. The whole 9 yards. So like I'm trying to cover my bases with my picks. And if you get down to C tier, you're trying to like get yourself some type coverage. And I get down to round 8. And I'm still not quite sure who I want for my B tier. Like, I got some ideas floating around in my head. And you think I would have learned my lesson by now. But I don't think I really had any other big losses after that. But anyways, for my next pick in round 8, I went into C tier. I grabbed Vileplume, another mon that I actually used a lot in Gen 6. You can make it surprisingly bulky. It's pretty good defensive typing because of the fact it's grass poison. I mean, poison in general is just good defensive typing, and I actually ended up leaving with 3 poison types. I tried to say I had covered my types. I actually walked away only missing like 2 or 3 types. So I did good overall. But Vileplume, it gets. I like to run with Effect Spore. You can run it. You can run it as part of like a chlorophyll build. I saw that build somewhere, which I didn't know was a thing because I'm pretty certain Vileplume's pretty slow. I think it was like base 50 or something, if I remember correctly. But double speed is double speed. Either way, I don't have a Sunsetter. I might be like a counter pick thing if I go up against a Sun team. Who knows? But I'm usually most of it as like a defensive mon with Effect Spore, Giga Drain for recovery, Black Sledge. Something I didn't know when I picked it up is it got Strength Sap, which I know is like it has made the new Corsola into a monster. I just wasn't aware she had that, so that actually would be really cool and make her even a better defensive wall. So I'm looking forward to using that Pokemon again. We'll see if we do some cool things with it. So I got 4 picks left. I have 1 B tier, 3 C tier. And so for the B, I was contemplating. Where are we in the? list here to make sure I tell the story correctly. I was contemplating between 2 Mons in B tier. There was Gardevoir, which you see is the one I picked, and there was also Minshao, which I opted to let go because I'd already picked up a physical, like my big physical sweeper. But Minshao also has a lot of good utility. I mean, it's fast. It got around a little over 100 base speed. I think like 102 or something like that. It's got U-turn. It's got knockoff. You can give it close combat. It's a pretty good amount of reroll. I mean, it's got regenerator, which that's another thing I walked away with not getting, is I kind of wanted to have some regenerator mons in my core, but all the slow bros, slow king, whatever, all those got picked up. And I was actually thinking about, and the only reason I let them go to begin with is because, again, I had Tentacruel and I had Rotom early on. Like, my first 3 picks, I had 2 water types, and I was like, do I really want to get another water type? And I considered trying out Galarian Slowbro, Poison Psychic. And at the time, I think I had, I think I had 1 poison at the time, which is Tentacruel. So I considered it, but it got picked up. And I'm trying to remember where did it get picked up at. I could do a search. But I was considering getting some regenerator and the Galarian Slowbro, if I could spell. Who picked that up? He got picked up late. Oh, round 6 though. Okay, so he got picked up earlier. So I mean, it's just that's not in the cards that have a regenerator. The other ones were taken earlier too, like Tangrowth, and so just the bulky regenerators were gone. So I got down to my turn again, and I went with that's right. We were talking about Gardevoir. I went with Gardevoir. It gives me another special mon outside of Volcarona who can do some work. You can run Scarf, you can run Specs, and with that you can run Trick. It gives me a Fairy type. That's one of the main reasons I picked her, is I didn't have a Fairy type yet. I'm trying to think what other Fairy types I was really considering. Like Sylveon was already gone. So I knew I wanted a Fairy type. She hits hard on the special side. Like I said, she has Trick Shenanigans. Good coverage. So just again, coverage is great in this format because you're counterpicking your opponent's teams the best you can. So I'm very happy with the pickup. I used her a decent amount in Gen 6, a lot of times with the Mega Stone, but I did run a few builds that were, I think, typically Scarf with Trick. So excited to use her again for sure. And then after that, it kind of got difficult for me trying to round out my team. Toxicroak I ended up picking up. We had like 5 minutes to like choose each time we came around, and obviously you want to be quicker if you already know what you want. I didn't. Toxicroak was cool. I didn't have a fighting type. Again, I was looking a lot to cover my types with C tier that I didn't already have covered. It's Revenge Killer with Sucker Punch. It's got Dry Skin, so if I go up against like any kind of rain, that would be good. I mean, it makes it a good switch into water types in general. Again, good. It's got fighting moves, which is what I needed overall. So, you know, not the most exciting pick, but a cool mon nonetheless. And again, it helps kind of round out a bit. I think he also gets Toxic Spikes now that I think about it, but I have Tentacruel for that. And I think in terms of hazard removal, I have Tentacruel and Rotom with Defog for Rotom and Rapid Spin for Tentacruel. Does Toxicroak get spikes? No, wait. No, he does not. Okay. So never mind. It's neither here or there. And then we're scraping by, like getting towards the bottom. I mean, a lot of good things have already been picked up to this point, to be fair. And I'm looking to cover types, and I still don't have a steel type. I don't know how that happened. I thought about picking up, well, I know how Skarmory disappeared on me, and I thought about picking up Ferrothorn at one point. And I kind of delayed that a bit because he was an 8. I think he was an A tier pickup. And I really just needed physical power. Actually, I might be misspeaking. Pharaoh. Type. Pharaoh. Yeah, he was A tier pick. Like, it was just too tight for me at that point. Like, I'd already picked up Rotom and Volcarona early, and I had planned to use it for Haxorus, and I still ended up getting a physical mon for it. But I just couldn't afford to use that spot on Ferrothorn, so I let it go. Someone else eventually picked it up. I did pick up Baby Ferrothorn. I picked up Ferroseed. Does the same things, just not as well. You run Eviolite on it. You get your hazards with it. It's an optional rocker. You can do spikes, Leech Seed. Like I said, it's just Baby Ferrothorn. Does the same thing, just not as good. But what you want for C tier, right? So I picked up Fair Seed, and then for my last mon, I picked up Rhydon. And it took me a while to actually think about this one. And I actually let a couple people pick before my last pick, just while I thought a little extra time, because I made everybody wait long enough. But I needed a ground type. I didn't have a rock type. I didn't have either of those types. So coverage-wise, pretty good. I mean, you still have to worry about 4 times weakness to grass and water. But he's overall going to be a physical wall anyways, and there's not too many physical grass and waters that I'm going to be too concerned about. I have Tentacruel, I have Rotom, and in terms of grass, I have Volcarona, I have Vileplume, I have Toxicroak, I have Pharaoh Seed. So I got plenty of coverage for those anyway, so he can switch out pretty handedly. He's a Stealth Rocker. I only had Pharaoh Seed outside of that, and I would like some flexibility with my hazards. He's bulky with the Eviolite. I mean, he's got, I think, 130 attack, 120 defense. He's got great HP, so I think he's physical side. He's going to live for a long time. And if I run him with Umbreon, I can wish him back up. So pretty solid overall. He's got good move coverage, Earthquake Stab. You have Rock Stab with, if you want Slide or Edge. He's got Elemental Punches. Just good counter picking in general. And there's a Sand Team in my division. So I mean, that'll boost his special defense. It gives me a mon that I can sit out in sand and not get hurt. Same thing for Pharaoh Seed. I think it was as my last pick, I think it was a very solid pick. I'm not mad at all about it. So yeah, those are my picks. That's my reasoning for my picks. I mean, some of them were kind of because some of my favorites disappeared. Like I said, the only ones I was really super disappointed about were Haxorus, Skarmory was the big one, and Noivern. And I think right after, what was it? There was something I was almost like really mad, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was shoot. Let me pull it up. Because it was I was thinking about picking up Heracross, and I didn't. And I decided not to. But it became down to like me deciding whether or not I wanted a certain mon. Let's see, what I picked before that. Okay, so I had picked up the Dracozolt, and I'm trying to remember what I was balancing that decision on, but the other decision would have been like a special attacker. Which makes me question what the special attacker was I was thinking about. But I picked Dracozolt, which immediately was like, okay, I don't need the physical sweeper anymore. And then Heracross got immediately picked. And I was just like, if I had picked the special attacker and you had picked Heracross after I'd already lost Haxorus, I would have lost it. So, regardless. So that's the team. First match is this week against the wonderful Whelmers. This video is essentially about my team, but there's my opponent for the week. I'll be doing some team building for that coming up soon. I probably won't make a video on that, but I will record the battle itself, and I'll post it in a later video. So there it is. I'm excited to do this. I've always wanted to do a draft league. So for those of you that are also interested, support the Carolina Crowbats, and look out for some future videos. Take care, guys.